Leeds United are making a move that at first glance might seem like a huge blow, letting go of an extremely talented young player in a key area of the pitch. Normally, the headlines would scream disaster, frustration, and regret, but if you take a closer look at how the situation has unfolded, there's a lot more going on here. In fact, there's a strong argument that this might be one of the smartest or most assertive pieces of business the club has pulled off in this transfer window. This whole story revolves around Mateo Joseph, a player packed with potential now, heading out on loan to Mallorca, and the way Leeds have handled this deal says a lot about how the club is starting to learn from past mistakes and take control of their own narrative in the market. Now, most fans woke up to the news already knowing that the move was close to completion. The night before, Mateo had boarded a Jet2 flight bound for Spain, where Mallorca's staff were waiting for him. Cameras caught him landing, giving quick interviews, smiling for photos, the usual scenes you see when a player is on the brink of joining a new club. But when you strip away the excitement of the pictures and the inevitable social media buzz, the facts tell a more complicated story. Mateo Joseph had not turned up for preseason training. He had been in discussions with Real Betis well before. Leeds were part of the conversation, and from the outside it looked like he was doing everything possible to cut ties with the club. A decision that many believe was fueled by his frustration at not being the automatic first-choice striker. Last season, the easy assumption would be that this is yet another case of a young player successfully forcing a move away with the selling club left powerless. And yes, that's happened to Leeds before, more than once. But this time, something different took place. This time, Leeds didn't just react, they acted. They didn't cave to pressure or settle for whatever terms were thrown at them. They took the situation and flipped it. Instead of being passengers in the transfer process, they grabbed the wheel and decided how the next chapter of the story was going to be written. And that's a massive shift in how this club handles its business. Let's rewind for a second. Mateo's heart was set on a move to Real Betis, a club that, while respectable, was only interested in a permanent deal. Leeds, on the other hand, had no intention of letting him go permanently. Not yet. They recognized his talent, his potential, and they wanted to protect the possibility of bringing him back. That meant their preferred option was a loan deal, ideally without any obligation or option to buy. From their perspective, a permanent transfer right now would be giving away a future asset for far less than his long-term value. Betis didn't like that idea at all. They wanted ownership, not a temporary arrangement. Now, in many other transfer windows, Leeds might have sighed, muttered something about how players have the power these days, and eventually accepted the less than ideal deal just to get the situation over with. But that wasn't the route they chose this time. Instead, they went public, and not just a quiet "we're exploring options" public. They took the lid off the whole thing. They spoke openly about the fact that Mateo hadn't shown up to training, about how he might be on the move, and they let the rest of the football world know that he was available, but on their terms. That single decision completely changed the dynamics of the situation. Suddenly, this wasn't a private negotiation between one club, one player, and an agent. Now there were multiple eyes on the deal. Girona started showing interest. Getafe sniffed around the possibility. Both clubs weren't desperate for a starting striker right now, but were open to a loan with the right conditions. And then came Mallorca, and here's where things shifted completely. Mallorca looked at the situation and thought, under 20 21 Spain international, decent record bags of potential and available on a straight loan. We'll take that. No permanent deal, no option to buy, no long-term strings attached. Exactly what Leeds had wanted from the start. Once Mallorca entered the picture, the balance of power flipped completely. Betis didn't want to match the terms. Girona weren't willing to pay what was needed. Suddenly, Leeds were in the driver's seat fielding offers rather than chasing them. The clock was ticking towards the 1st of September, but now it wasn't Leeds under pressure. It was the buying clubs. Either they matched the loan terms, covered the wages, and met the small conditions Leeds had set, or they walked away. Betis walked away. Others hesitated. Mallorca stepped forward and sealed the deal. This wasn't just about finding Mateo Joseph a new club for the season. It was about making a statement, both to the squad and to the market. Leeds showed that they're not going to be pushed around anymore, that players can't simply force their way out on their own terms if it doesn't suit the club. They showed they can use the media, use timing, and use transparency as tools to strengthen their position. It's the kind of approach that clubs like Marseille, mentioned in other past sagas, have used against Leeds in the past. But now, Leeds have flipped the script and played that same game themselves. And let's be honest, in football, perception matters almost as much as reality. By openly talking up Mateo's quality by saying in public that they rate him highly, Leeds increased his market value without even playing him. Other clubs saw that confidence and had to consider whether they were missing out on something special. Even if Mateo was pushing for a move away, the club never sounded desperate or resigned. They sounded in control. And in a transfer market where desperation can cost millions, that's a priceless shift in strategy. For the first time in a while, it feels like Leeds are learning to seize the narrative. That doesn't mean every outgoing transfer will be smooth sailing, and it certainly doesn't mean they won't face tricky situations with other players, like the ongoing scenarios with others in the squad who have release clauses or unsettled futures. But in this particular case, they've proven they can take a potentially messy situation and turn it into something far more beneficial. The key here isn't just that they got the loan deal they wanted, it's that they've shown the rest of the football world they're willing to push back to dictate terms and to refuse to be boxed into a corner. And that's why even though Leeds are waving goodbye to a hugely promising young striker, for now, there's a sense of quiet confidence about the way it's been handled. It's not about losing a player. It's about keeping the control. And in a sport where power often slips into the hands of the few individuals on the pitch, Leeds have made sure it stays in the hands of the badge on the shirt. What makes this whole saga even more fascinating is how the shift in power unfolded almost in real time. In the modern transfer market, so many deals happen quietly away from the cameras, with clubs negotiating in private and then suddenly announcing an agreement. But in this case, Leeds deliberately broke from that script. They took a situation that could have quietly ended with a player sulking his way out to his preferred destination and turned it into a very public chess match. Every move was there for the rest of the league to see, and every comment from the club seemed carefully designed to increase their leverage rather than give it away. The effect was that the pressure shifted off Leeds' shoulders and onto the clubs that wanted the player. This wasn't about embarrassing Mateo Joseph or punishing him for wanting to leave. It was about sending a message that Leeds are not a club to be dictated to. They recognize the risk of giving in too easily, not just for this deal, but for future situations. If players and agents sense that they can force through a move simply by refusing to show up to training or by speaking to other clubs without permission, it sets a precedent that is incredibly hard to reverse. The next player who wants out will follow the same playbook. By holding their ground here, Leeds are trying to rewrite that playbook entirely. You can almost see the parallels with other recent transfers where the power balance favored the player or the buying club. In those cases, Leeds found themselves negotiating from a position of weakness, sometimes due to release clauses that left them little choice, sometimes due to poor timing, and sometimes because the other side controlled the media narrative. They've been on the receiving end of that pressure enough times to know how damaging it can be. This time, though, they were proactive instead of reactive. They didn't wait for Betis to make an improved offer or for Joseph to soften his stance. They went out and widened the market themselves. And the truth is, once other clubs are involved, everything changes. A buying club that thinks it's the only option has no incentive to raise its bid or match the seller's terms. But introduce competition, even if it's just the threat of competition, and suddenly the tone shifts. Agents start making calls, rival clubs start crunching numbers, and the original suitor is forced to decide whether to step up or step aside. That's exactly what happened here. Betis had no desire to match the straight loan arrangement Mallorca were willing to accept, and rather than compromise on their vision, Leeds let them walk away. The beauty of this approach is that it also protects Leeds' long-term interests. A straight loan keeps Joseph under contract, keeps his development under their watch, and keeps open the possibility of reintegrating him into the squad next season if circumstances change. It also gives the player a chance to prove himself in a different environment without burning bridges completely. In a year's time, Leeds could find themselves with a much improved striker who has gained valuable experience in La Liga. Or, if they decide to sell a player with a higher market value thanks to that experience. Either way, the outcome is far better than a rushed permanent deal that benefits the buying club far more than it benefits Leeds. From a sporting perspective, some fans might still be uneasy about losing depth in a crucial position. Joseph is talented, and letting him go even temporarily means putting more responsibility on the current strikers. But the reality is that he was unlikely to be the automatic starter this season and keeping a frustrated player in the dressing room can sometimes be more damaging than losing him altogether. This way, Leeds avoid that tension while still maintaining a connection to the player's future. It's a balance between protecting the squad harmony and protecting the club's assets. And it's not easy to strike. The other important angle here is how the club's leadership handled the messaging. Daniel Farke's public comments about rating Joseph highly weren't just honest assessments, they were strategic. By talking up the player's qualities, Leeds avoided the impression that they were desperate to get rid of him. Clubs that sense desperation will always lowball. Instead, the message was clear. We think he's good, we want him, but only on our terms. That puts the onus on the other side to justify why they deserve to get him for less than those terms. It's subtle, but it's one of the oldest tricks in the transfer book. Make your asset look as valuable as possible before you even start negotiating. There's also something to be said about the psychological side of all this. Footballers, like anyone else, respond to how they're treated. While Joseph may have been frustrated with his role at Leeds, the fact that the club didn't rush him out the door or try to publicly undermine him could still matter later. If his spell at Mallorca goes well, but the move isn't made permanent, he could return to Leeds with a different mindset. If it goes poorly, he may realize the value of being part of a club that still believed in him enough to keep him under contract rather than cut him loose entirely. In either scenario, Leeds haven't burned the bridge, they've just redirected the traffic for now. Another point worth highlighting is how this move positions Leeds in the wider market. Other clubs' agents and even players are always watching these situations. If Leeds had caved in and sold Joseph permanently for less than they thought he was worth, word would spread quickly. Push them hard enough and they'll fold. That reputation can follow a club for years. Instead, by holding firm, they've sent a very different message. We'll deal, but only on terms that suit us. That kind of stance can deter opportunistic bids in the future and encourage more serious, respectful negotiations. Of course, this approach only works if the results back it up. If Leeds end up struggling this season and fans look back at the Joseph loan as a missed opportunity, the narrative could swing the other way. But that's the risk with any transfer decision. The club clearly believes they have enough firepower in the squad to cope without him, and they've prioritized the bigger picture over the immediate emotional reaction. It's a calculated gamble, the kind that good clubs make when they're thinking beyond just the next fixture list. Ultimately, what we've seen here is a club learning to play the long game. In football, the short game is all about reacting to the latest problem, the latest demand, the latest media storm. The long game is about positioning yourself so that over time you're the one setting the terms rather than scrambling to meet someone else's. Leeds United for once have played the long game with Mateo Joseph. They've accepted that they can't control everything. The players' feelings, the interest from other clubs, the noise from the outside world. But they can control how they respond. And in this case, their response has turned what could have been a messy, demoralizing exit into a controlled, strategically beneficial move. If they can apply this same kind of thinking to future transfer windows, especially with the other potential departures looming, Leeds might just find themselves in a much stronger position in the years ahead. The Mateo Joseph deal might not look like a blockbuster on paper, but in terms of the lessons it represents and the precedent it sets, it could be one of the most important deals they've done in recent memory. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on Leeds United, and make sure to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. In a move that has sent ripples through the English football community, Daniel Farke, the manager of Leeds United, has reportedly announced his departure from the club. While the official reasons remain closely guarded, insiders suggest that this decision might stem from a complex mix of on-field challenges and behind-the-scenes dynamics. Leeds fans and football pundits alike are buzzing with speculation about what could have led to this unexpected turn of events. FARKE, who took charge with high expectations and a clear vision for the club's future, appeared to be committed to building a competitive side capable of challenging in the Premier League. However, rumors hint of possible disagreements with the club's board or strategic differences regarding player recruitment and long-term planning. The timing of the announcement, coming shortly after a string of difficult results, fuels further conjecture about whether recent performances played a decisive role. This sudden news also raises questions about the club's immediate future, including who might be considered as a replacement and how the squad will adapt to this transition. Given the high-profile nature of Leeds and their passionate fan base, the atmosphere around Elland Road is expected to be electric in the coming days, with supporters and media alike eager for more details and clarity on what lies ahead for both FARKE and the club. As the football world digests this startling development, speculation grows about the potential destinations Daniel FARKE might consider next. Known for his tactical acumen and ability to nurture young talent, FARKE has been linked with various clubs seeking a proven manager capable of stabilizing their squads and implementing a clear playing philosophy. Sources close to the manager hint at his desire to remain in top-flight football, possibly exploring opportunities in the Premier League or other major European leagues. The timing of his exit from Leeds opens the door for immediate discussions, with clubs facing managerial vacancies or those looking to revitalize their current setups. Meanwhile, Leeds United's board reportedly faces a scramble to identify a successor who can quickly step into the role and bring stability to a club currently navigating a challenging period. Fans and analysts alike are casting their eyes toward potential candidates, with names of experienced Premier League managers and promising up-and-comers circulating widely. The uncertainty surrounding the future of Leeds United adds an extra layer of intrigue to this saga, as the club's ambitions to maintain their top-flight status hang in the balance. Meanwhile, FARKE's departure might just be the catalyst for significant changes within the league's managerial landscape, influencing not only Leeds, but also other teams seeking to reshape their futures. The impact of Daniel FARKE's rumored exit on Leeds United squad dynamics cannot be overstated. Players who had adapted to FARKE's tactical demands and training methodologies might now face uncertainty about their roles and futures at the club. The locker room atmosphere, which often thrives on stability and clear leadership, could experience upheaval as speculation about new managerial appointments intensifies. Sources suggest that some key squad members, especially those signed under FARKE's regime, may feel unsettled by the abrupt change, potentially affecting their performances in upcoming fixtures. Moreover, the club's transfer strategy, which FARKE had a significant influence over, might undergo revision depending on who assumes control next. Rumors abound that Leeds could pivot towards a different style of play or player profile, aligning with the preferences of a new manager, thereby affecting current players' positions and contract situations. This possible managerial shift also ignites debate among fans regarding the future direction of the club, whether to continue on the path FARKE laid out or to embark on an entirely new chapter. The coming weeks are expected to be crucial in shaping Leeds United's trajectory this season, as the players, staff and supporters brace for what might be a transformative period in the club's history. Beyond the immediate repercussions of Leeds United, Daniel FARKE's potential departure sends broader signals across English football's managerial market. The Premier League, known for its high turnover rates and intense pressure, may witness a chain reaction as vacancies and appointments trigger further changes down the managerial carousel. Clubs seeking to avoid relegation or aiming for mid-table consolidation could see FARKE's availability as an opportunity to bring in a coach with Premier League experience and a clear tactical philosophy. Meanwhile, other managers currently under scrutiny might find themselves under increased pressure as the reshuffle unsettles established hierarchies and sparks fresh competition for positions. Football insiders speculate that FARKE's exit might also influence transfer market activities, with player movements linked to his managerial status becoming a hot topic. Additionally, pundits and analysts are already debating the long-term implications for Leeds United's identity as a club, especially if they appoint a manager whose vision contrasts sharply with FARKE's. The potential domino effect extends beyond just Leeds, highlighting the intricate interconnectedness of managerial decisions and club strategies in top-tier football. As this story unfolds, all eyes will remain fixed on both Leeds and Daniel Farke, awaiting confirmation and insights into the next chapter for these key figures in the English game. While the official statement from Leeds United remains formal and reserved, the surrounding environment is ripe with conjecture about the circumstances that led Daniel Farke to announce his departure. Sources close to the club hinted a mixture of frustration and strategic divergence that may have reached a tipping point behind closed doors. Speculation suggests that while Farke's coaching credentials and professionalism remain respected, the alignment between his vision and the club's evolving ambitions might have eroded over time. This rumor mill points to possible clashes over transfer policies, budget allocations, or even the speed at which the club wants to develop its playing style. Fans, ever passionate and vocal, have taken to social media and fan forums debating whether this exit signals deeper systemic issues at Leeds or simply a managerial misfit that needed resolution. Meanwhile, the broader football media landscape has seized upon this news as an example of the volatility of football management and the pressures faced by those at the helm of storied clubs. As the story continues to develop, the focus will inevitably turn to how Leeds United manages this transition, the potential candidates lined up for the managerial role, and how Daniel Farke charts his next move. The football world waits with bated breath to see how this unfolding drama will shape the future of one of England's historic clubs and one of its most talked about managers. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep getting exclusive news about Leeds United, be sure to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to reading your comments and opinions. See you in the next video, Leeds fans.